Thanks, everybody. I would just ask you before we continue if you would raise your hands high enough for our guys to be able to get an accurate count. They're not putting their hands up high enough, so if you would do that. Back to the amendment. Councillor Lawson, I'm going to rule the amendment out of order. The panel that's elected will be working on that review. The review panel will decide in conjunction and let the other councillors know when they've made that decision, but that decision will be up to that panel. So I just ruled that out of order. Sorry, Councillor Lawson, there's no right to reply to that.
I just wanted to check that it being understood, that's all.
Thank you. Item 3, delegate to the General Manager's Performance Review Panel. A, the whole process of performance management, including discussions about performance and performance reviews for the 21-22 period. B, the reporting to Council of findings, recommendations of reviews for the 21-22 period, and any actions that should be taken. And the determination of any new performance plan for 22-23. Well, why have we got to get that nominations? It's done, I'm nominated. Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah. Do I have a mover for that motion? Councillor Miles. Seconder? Councillor Cudmore. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Councillor Lawson against. You've recorded that? Item 7.6, adoption of the draft fraud and corruption policy and fraud and corruption control plan. The recommendation reads that Council 1 place the draft fraud and corruption prevention policy appended at Annexure A and draft fraud and corruption control plan appended at Annexure B on public exhibition for a period of 28 days. 2, receive a further report following conclusion of the public exhibition period, or if no submissions are received, adopt the draft fraud and corruption prevention policy and draft fraud and corruption control plan, fraud as exhibited. Do I have a mover? Councillor Cudmore. A seconder? Councillor Allen. Did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Cudmore?
No, thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Miles.
Mr Mayor, it's, I'm supportive of the policy. I'm just wondering if...
Point of order, Councillor Miles. Are either for the motion?
Well, I'm for the motion, Mr Mayor. I thought I stated that I was for the motion. I'm just trying to draw attention to page 66, where the policy is actually dated 2021. We are in 2022, and I just believe if it's going on public exhibition for 28 days, that's going to be February. So I just think the date should reflect the date of the policy, not when it was reviewed. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Miles. I've already put the motion. It's been moved and seconded. I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 7.7.
Mr Mayor.
Sorry, Councillor Lawson.
So just according to the Code of Meeting Practice, before ruling out of order a motion or an amendment to a motion, the chairperson is to give the mover an opportunity to clarify or amend the motion or amendment.
That's only one, isn't it? Yeah. Councillor Lawson, I ruled it out of order. That's the end of the debate.
Okay, I'm just pointing that out.
Thanks, Councillor Lawson. Item 7.7, adoption of draft procurement policy. The recommendation reads that Council place the draft procurement policy appended at Annexure A on public exhibition for a period of 28 days and adopt the draft policy as exhibited, subject to no submissions being received. Do I have a mover?
So moved.
Councillor Miles, a seconder. Councillor Allen, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Miles?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor. It's very thorough.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 7.8, public exhibition of draft code of meeting practice. The recommendation reads that Council, 1, place the draft code of meeting practice appended to Annexure B on public exhibition for a period of 28 days pursuant to section 361 of the Local Government Act 1993. 2, note that a further report on the draft code of meeting practice, including any submissions received, will be provided to the first ordinary meeting of Council following the 2021 local government ordinary elections. Do I have a mover?
So moved.
Move Councillor Miles, a seconder. Councillor Allen, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Miles?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 7.9, Pillar 3 of the visitor economy. The recommendation reads that Council adopt the draft version of the Economic Development Strategy Pillar 3, Visitor Economy. Do I have a mover? Move Councillor Cudmore. Seconder? Councillor Wynne, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Cudmore?
Yes, please. Yeah, I know council have done a lot of work in the recommendation on this section of the economic development strategy. Some people probably think we should be drilling down a bit more, but I think it's, at the moment, I think it's a good starting point, and I think we should move forward with it, and it can be drilled down at a later date, because if you go down too far, then you've actually got to encompass what you do. So with a broader outlook on the adoption, I think this sets us on a starting track anyway.
Thanks, Councillor Cudmore. Any speakers against the motion? Councillor Lawson.
With all due respect to the authors and the work completed thus far on this pillar of the strategy, the document itself is too limiting, and I would say it's drilled down too much in some areas and ambiguous in others. We need to set out the goals that we hope to achieve with the strategy and explain the evidence-based methodology in formulating the actions listed. As much as I understand the need to move forward with these strategies, I feel it's important to get them right. They are a framework for actions to be taken during the current term, and are meant to clearly outline goals and the measures we'll be using in assessing our progress toward those goals. There were some very good points submitted by the community, particularly the letter from Plainsing, yet it does not seem that these suggestions were taken on board. There are some things that I think need to be included in the strategy that have not been in this document. There needs to be a summary of the current nature and state of the visitor economy based on information obtained from key stakeholder groups. The strategy should identify the unique assets and opportunities in our Shire in the context of the visitor economy, and how we will evaluate the benefit of the proposed actions in attracting and improved economic benefit to our Shire from visitors, and clearly state the ways we'll go about promoting and facilitating those actions. There should be an integrated approach in the strategy towards achieving the aim of an enhanced economic benefit, with actions for specific facilities or programs linked back to an overall plan. I would also like to see a more prominent commitment in the strategy to celebrating and showcasing our Gabelroy culture, although I welcome that this is touched on for 2 specific facilities. I believe we should first be considering the overall economic development strategy, which is a strategy that should be developed in collaboration with councillors. We need to workshop and develop the overall strategy and then drill down to the most important pillars, making sure they have clearly defined goals. I'd be very willing to be a part of such a workshop if the motion to approve the strategy in its current form is not passed. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Lawson. Any speakers for the motion? Any other speakers for the motion? Councillor Allen?
I just think we would, if the motion was to go forward as it is now, if it was not to go forward, it's on both sides, more or less. I think if we were to chuck everything into the overall arching of the plan, it then opens a can of worms that allows other organisations or other committees that haven't been mentioned to then jump up and down, and allows them to have an extra time, and then you're going back on your original concept, rather than moving forward and allowing others to come in at a later date. I think this plan as it is at the moment has a lot of room for inclusion. So if you were to let it go through, I think the later dates you can include what you want, and these workshops still could go ahead in the plan. So you're not gonna. I think in order for us to say nay today, it would be going backwards, and we need to get this plan up and running and into the community. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Allen. Is there any other speakers against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? You didn't vote, Councillor Allen?
No.
So you're deemed to vote against it?
For.
You can't abstain? So what's your vote? You're for the motion? I'll have to call that motion again. Those for the motion? Those against the motion? I'll declare that carried. Item 7.12, Corporate and Community Services Directorate Report, December 2021.
Point of order 7.1. Is that right, last
My apologies, councillors. 7.1, rate peg for 2022-2023, 0.7%. The recommendation that council receive and note the impact of the rate peg for 22-23. Do I have a mover? Councillor Miles, a seconder? Councillor Lawson, do you wish to speak to it, Councillor Miles?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't need to go over anything that was covered on Monday. It's quite a depressing report for 0.07. However, I have to say that I'm very excited and very enthusiastic to be looking forward to our annual budget and also our long-term financial plan to see where we're going to address this concern. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Miles. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. 7.11, Statement of Investments, November and December 2021. The recommendation reads that Council receive and note the Statement of Investments as at the 30th of November 2021 and the 31st of December 2021. Do I have a mover?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Move Councillor Miles, a seconder. Councillor Allen, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Miles?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 7.12, Corporate and Community Services Directorate Report, December 2021. The recommendation reads that Council, 1, receive and note the Corporate and Community Services Directorate briefing for the month of December 2021 as detailed in this report. Do I have a mover? Move Councillor Cudmore, a seconder. Councillor Miles. Did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Cudmore?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 7.13, Infrastructure and Environmental Services Directorate Report, January 2022. The recommendation reads that Council 1, receive and note the Infrastructure and Environmental Services Directorate briefing for the month of January 2022 as detailed in this report. Do I have a mover? Councillor Allen, seconder. Councillor Miles. Did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Allen?
No.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? Councillor Miles.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. As I said in the bit, I'm in favour of the motion. I'd just like to make a couple of points on it and the repair program. I think they have and are doing a great job here, and I have a resident say this was a second reseal, but the engineers assured me that it was not. And the other one was I'd like to point out phase three. I did this the other day. Local roads and community infrastructure funding. Congratulations to those involved in this successful submission. It's a great result. So thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Miles. Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 7.14, Water Supply Status Report. The recommendation reads that Council receive and note the Water Supply Status Report. Do I have a mover? Councillor Cudmore, seconded Councillor Wynne. Did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Cudmore?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Anyone else wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 7.15, amendment of fees and charges, development servicing and servicing charges. The recommendation reads that Council approve the following amendments. Approve the following amendments to the fees and charges from 1st of March 22 through to 28th of February 23. Page 70, developers charge water services other than villages for subdivision, creating a greater than one lot, 12,528 per equivalent tenant. Page 70, developers charge water services other than villages for subdivisions, creating one lot, nil. C, page 74, contribution to headworks, DSP area, Corindi and Werris Creek for subdivision creating greater than one lot, 3,449. Page 74, contribution to headworks, DSP area, 1, Corindi and Werris Creek for subdivision creating one lot, nil. Do I have a mover? Councillor Miles, a seconder. Councillor Lawson, sorry. We have Councillor Miles, second to Councillor Lawson. Did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Miles?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Pretty short and sweet. I just think this is a great initiative. Congratulate those that have brought it forward to Council, and hopefully it will increase some development within our Shire. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Miles. Is there any other speakers for or against the motion? I would also like to, sorry, Councillor Allen.
Just to amend the amount you said on point C. You said 3,449, it's 3,349, just in case someone grabbed that.
Thanks, Councillor Allen, that's noted. I would also like to speak in favour of this motion. I believe it will create a lot of avenues for people to subdivide their blocks in town, and I know that both villages, Corindi and Werris Creek, have a lot of such blocks where it will encourage them to subdivide their blocks and therefore create more residents because it will be cheaper for them to do that. So I am very much in favour of this motion. Having said that, I'll put them. Is there any speakers for or against the motion? If there's no other speakers, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 7.16, request for zebra crossing Thomas Street, Corinda. The recommendation reads that Council 1, receive and note the request for a pedestrian crossing at Thomas Street, Corinda. Do I have a mover? Councillor Allen, a seconder. Councillor Wynn, did you wish to speak with Councillor Allen?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I do. I just think this is a great idea and it's long overdue. Having children having gone to St Joseph's School, I think, at the drop-offs in the morning and the pickups in the afternoon, it's something that we need to have and we should have. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Allen. Is there anyone wishing to speak against the motion? Or for the motion? Sorry. Yep.
I agree wholeheartedly with Councillor Allen.
Thanks, Councillor Wynn. If there's no other speakers for or against the motion, I would also like to add that I believe that that's something that's badly needed there, and I'm very much in favour of the motion as well. So having said that, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 7.17, development application for Indi RSL alterations and additions, smoking deck. The recommendation reads that Council 1, determine development application 63/2021 pursuant to section 4.16 of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979 by the granting of consent subject to conditions as detailed in the Development Assessment Report 10/2021.63.1 in Annexure A. Do I have a mover? Move Councillor Allen, a seconder. Councillor Cudmore, did you wish to speak to it, Councillor Allen?
No.
Anyone wishing to speak for or against the motion? If not, I'll put the motion. Those in favour? Those against? Carried. Item 8, delegates' reports, nil. Notices of motion, questions with notice, nil. Confidential matters, nil. There being no further business, I declare the meeting closed at 3:28. Thank you, councillors.